Hi, I'm Beryl Itani, and this is Where You Live. And this is National Volunteer Week, and so we're going to be talking with some volunteers here in Kelowna. And today we're speaking with Fern and Alex Carr, who are with Project Literacy. So how long have you lived in Kelowna?
We've lived in Kelowna for almost 18 years.
Okay, great. And where did you come from?
Winnipeg.
Oh, yes. Okay, great. And why do you volunteer with Project Literacy? What brought you to that organization?
It was mentioned to me by a colleague of mine when I finished teaching. I taught in Winnipeg for 32 years, in Kelowna for 5, retired, had to do something, and this was the best around.
Great. And Fern?
Well, my husband was involved with Project Literacy prior to my involvement, and he was so enthusiastic about it, I thought I better check this out. And I wound up becoming so involved that, as I mentioned to you before, I'm currently the president and chair of the board of directors for the organization.
So what drew you to Project Literacy?
I think that literacy and numeracy are so intrinsic to our society, and there's a certain level of illiteracy in the population that really goes unnoticed. It's swept under the carpet. For example, we had a person who came down to Project Literacy who was an office manager. She was used to interacting with her employees. Nobody had any idea that she wasn't able to read the documents. You know, it's always the question of, I don't have my glasses. Oh, can you just read this for me? Yes. Whatever. There are parents who aren't able to go to parent-teacher interviews to interact with the teachers. There are people who can't go to the bank to make a deposit, people who are afraid to take the bus. So.
Wow, didn't realize that. Well, actually I did. I knew that those were some of the circumstances of some people. Right. And so it's so important to be able to have an organization like yours to be able to help these folks. So how many people do you have?
In terms of volunteers, we've already, I think, hit our 150th volunteer, before Canada's sesquicentennial birthday. And we serve approximately about 400 learners per year, but we've been doing this for 30 years, and we've served in the thousands, I think over 6,000 people so far.
Wow, that's incredible. How many volunteers do you have?
Well, so the volunteers are about 150 because it's fluid. It just depends.
Okay. And how long does it take to get somebody from not being able to read to be able to read and be able to sign documents and sign their name and things like that?
Do you want to answer that one as a tutor?
How long does it
take? It's not all that common to get people from the local area to learn how to improve their reading skills. We do have that, but it varies as to the abilities of both the learner and the tutor.
And the tutor, okay.
And the tutor, for the most part, we do ESL.
Which is?
Which is English as a second language for new Canadians.
Okay.
And that's primarily what I do, but I also teach math and physics.
Oh, okay. And this is to help people in order for them to get better jobs or to get a job?
That to upgrade their qualifications is one reason. I had one young lady from Wales who had moved to Canada, wanted to be a teacher, but she couldn't hack the math.
Oh, okay.
If you asked her about math, she would tremble.
Yes.
So I helped her for about a year and a half, and she wrote the entrance exam and got an 82%, went into the education faculty at UBCO, and is now a teacher herself and tutors math herself.
Oh my goodness.
And that's some of the rewards that you get, the feedback that you get.
That's wonderful.
It's better than money.
It is, isn't it? It certainly is. Great. And Fern?
And I was going to say that a lot of people associate our organization with just one-on-one tutoring, and it's also free of charge, by the way. But
good. That's good to know.
Yes, but there's more to it than that. We also have several outreach programs. So one of them is a program whereby we help parents and children who are refugees to Canada. We have another one where it's another program, Bond to Literacy, where parents are taught skills so that they can in turn teach their children, so that their children who are, I guess, perhaps about 3, 4, and 5 years of age can experience success in school. We have another program coming up. It's thanks to a grant by the federal government, whereby seniors will be getting tutoring as to how do you use your iPad, your iPhone, how do you use the computer.
Oh,
so there are all
great.
kinds of very practical, valuable programs that Project Literacy offers.
And is there an age limit for, or do you take young children as well, all the way up to seniors?
It starts at age 19.
19.
Age
Okay.
19, yes.
And I have a new student that I haven't met yet who's from Argentina, and she's 80 years old.
Oh, wonderful. And how do people get a hold of you? Do you have a website or?
We do have a website, projectliteracykelowna.org, and also we invite people to come down to the office.
Which is
Which is 1635 Bertram,
Yep.
just down the block from Safeway. And check us out on Facebook, social media, Twitter. You know, a lot of people do associate us with ESL, and from time to time I have had the pleasure of popping into the office, you know, and interacting with these people. And currently, as a student of Mandarin Chinese, I know what it's like to be in a situation where you want to express yourself, you know what you want to say, but you're just a little bit apprehensive because you don't want to end up looking silly or you feel self-conscious. So that's why I always make a point of, you know, when I do meet somebody who is in a situation like that, just really trying to be very welcoming, understanding, and that's what the tutors do. And everyone, the staff at Project Literacy is amazing, and there's a real sense of openness and welcoming, and don't be afraid to make a mistake. Just come in, enjoy, learn, and it's just a real love of learning.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for telling us about Project Literacy and for your enthusiasm and excitement about being part of Project Literacy itself.
Thank you very much for having us.
Great to meet you and continue on the great work.
Likewise. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And now we're joined by Linda Ross from Emergency Support Services and Mark Kent from the Gospel Mission. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Linda, tell us about your volunteering with Emergency Support Services. How did you get involved?
Through a friend, actually, it started, but I had been volunteering in different areas around Kelowna since moving here. So, and she mentioned it, and I had remembered watching the 2003 fires because I had friends down in Lake Country, and I thought they were being affected as well. But it was amazing. And then my friend Linda had mentioned to me that there was an organization that helped people out during these disasters. And so I thought, okay, I'll go to a meeting, and just met a delightful group of people that were really passionate about why they were volunteering with the SS, why they felt the need to do that. And that was a real impact for me because it gave me the opportunity to find a sense of purpose as much as anything else. And then on my first incident, so to speak, I had the opportunity of being a meter and greeter, so to speak. And that, with people being in an anguished situation that they have no really thoughts about because they're so frazzled and fragmented, and they're coming to some place that they need help, but they don't want to ask sometimes, and they're offered help, and they're given help, and they find homes for a few days, and their animals are watched, and they're given food, and it was nice to be able to say, "You're welcome. Come on in. These people back here will give you a hand. They will take care of you. We will answer as many questions as we can for you, and do that." And that still, to this day, brings tears to my heart to think that we can offer them some respite from the horrors that they might be facing, the loss of their homes, or potential loss of their homes, or loss of their animals, their whole being. And so that, to me, is why. But it is the sense of purpose. Volunteering really is that in my heart.
Great, thank you. Mark, what about you? You volunteer with the Gospel Mission. What do you do there, and why did you get involved?
Well, initially my daughter actually volunteered there, and So she passed on the word that they were looking for some mature individuals to help out in a different type of capacity. So I work in the guest services. So I work the floor, meet and interact with our residents during my shift. Okay. And I've been doing it about 3.5 years now, and a couple of different, I started out doing lunches, and now I do afternoons and into the dinner hour.
So what does that involve when you say your shift? So, what do you do?
Basically, we provide a lot of different services from, we have a snack time, we have lunch time, we do storage, short-term and long-term storage. We do different types of things. If you have pets, you can actually, it's one of the shelters in BC that supplies shelters for your pets and for your bikes and so on. So what I do is I basically help organize the residents with just these facilities and perhaps take them to their storage area. And they're allowed to go in and out at certain times. And we've had a clothing bank, so sometimes people come in and have a need for clothing and so on. So that's sort of what I do. I'm hands-on, work the floor, and whatever is happening that day, I'm there to help out. And we do a lot of meals, so we do have a lot of people who might not stay with us, but they come in for meals during the day and so on. So I do a little bit of everything.
That's great. How many volunteers are involved with ESS?
Gosh, there's got to be 100 and some odd in our local area here, but within BC, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but I know locally.
So ESS is a program that is
British Columbia.
It's
managed through the Justice Institute of British Columbia, emergency management centers and the BCERMs, and there's different acronyms for all of the different agencies involved. But I'm studying now about the organization itself and how well it is structured, and the structuring as it goes on from your incident command right the way down. So it's really well structured for flexibility, so it may be a small incident or a large one.
And do you have regular meetings?
Yes, we have regular meetings every third Thursday of the month from September to June.
And where do you hold these meetings?
We hold these at the #1 fire station on Enterprise. And so we meet there, and we would be glad to have more new volunteers, 7 p.m. on third Thursday of every month.
That's great. And how do people get involved with the Gospel Mission? Just come down and...
or just call the Gospel Mission. You can look for us online. Sonia Mendez is actually our volunteer coordinator, and they're always looking for volunteers for certain days and certain shifts and so on.
Great.
So yes, I know we would love some more mature people.
Yes.
But yeah, it's an awesome experience.
Well, I was going to ask, is there an age limit for you for the Gospel Mission?
You have to be 18 and older.
Okay.
So.
And what about ESS?
There's no limitations, I think. I mean, you certainly have to be of manageable or making decisions, able to make decisions because you're dealing with other people's lives.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's so interesting to talk to both of you and find out about your volunteering opportunities here in Kelowna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have been talking to some volunteers from Kelowna who are doing work here in Kelowna volunteering, and now we have two people who are volunteering for an organization that's far, far away. So Debbie, who do you volunteer with?
The Kelowna's Grandmothers for Africa.
And what got you involved?
About 2 years ago, around this time, I had some life-changing events, and it left me in a position that I was able to choose anywhere that I wanted to move and go and become involved in anything really that I wanted to. So I traveled right from one coast to the other, from Nova Scotia to Vancouver Island, and I came and spent some time here in Kelowna. And I really did like Kelowna, and during my time here, I went to the Art Walk in Lake country. And I met a group of grandmothers that were selling their wares and raising money, and we had a discussion, and it just really touched me that these women, and I could relate to them because I have my own grandchildren,
yes.
and that they were helping, grandmothers that had watched their own children die, and now they were raising their own kids, and it just really sank home with me. It really, made me feel compassionate and all that. So it helped actually was part of making my decision to move here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Shirley, what about you? What attracted you to this particular organization?
The first time I saw them was when they were having a walk at Mission Greenway, and just meeting the women and the concept of Canadian grandmothers helping grandmothers in Africa who are raising this generation of children who have been orphaned by the AIDS pandemic. And like Deb says, we have our own grandchildren and we look after them, and okay, a day is enough, good. And these grandmothers they're not looking after them, they're raising them and feeding them and clothing them. And you think, if I can do something to help, we should help.
So what do you do? How do you raise money for the grandmothers in Africa? How do you do that?
We have an annual walk. We have one coming up on June 3rd at the Greenway. So we raise funds that way. Last year we had an event called Art from the Attic, where we collected art to recycle and had a big sale at Parkinson Rec. That was very fun. And we had a couple of African dinners at Okanagan College, African themed, partnering with the Okanagan Chefs Association and student chefs.
Wow.
So we're affiliated with the Stephen Lewis Foundation.
Yes.
And basically, they support grassroots organizations in Africa, and we're grassroots organizations here in Canada. So we do whatever we think we want to do to help raise money and awareness, as much as the funds is the awareness.
And how do you get the funds to Africa?
Through the Stephen Lewis Foundation.
Okay.
And they deal directly with grassroots organizations. In other words, the grandmothers there, the grandmothers group, saying, we can use some help doing this. We want to form a group to do this. We want to form, maybe help this grandmother who has a shack that's falling down and she's got 10 grandchildren that she's trying to look after. Let's see if we can help
So you
her.
raise funds for specific projects in
the Stephen Lewis
Africa?
Foundation, they actually do partner with quite a few grassroots organizations in Africa. It's sub-Saharan Africa, so there's 26 different countries, all impacted by the AIDS pandemic.
Right.
That's what triggered it all.
Right, yep.
And it's something as grandmothers we can identify with. It's help these grandmothers trying to raise these children and raise a healthy next generation.
And have you ever been to any of the countries?
I haven't been that fortunate. There are so many people when we have our booth at the Volunteer Fair or at our runs, I was at Africa, and I know what you're talking about. So many people in Kelowna have been to Africa. It's amazing.
Wonderful. But, now, has anybody that you have helped, has anybody come here?
The Stephen Lewis Foundation does bring grandmothers to Canada for different gatherings, so that we can hear directly from them the impact that we're having, and it's pretty inspirational.
I bet.
And our president did go, Cheryl Fraser did go last year to Uganda to a gathering of grandmothers there, handful of Canadian grandmothers and about 300 African grandmothers gathering from all these little villages, a lot of them the first time they've been out of their village, and getting together, working together, supporting each other, and ideas of how to survive and how to speak up for their rights. And it's amazing women, indomitable. They just do it.
And so how has this affected your life? Debbie, how has this affected your life, being involved?
It's just inspiring to know that you can help across so many miles away, countries away, and these ladies, they really help themselves. They're just, you don't feel like it's a bottomless pit of money. You can actually see it's been 10 years, hasn't it, since you started supporting them?
The Grandmothers to Grandmothers campaign,
yes. It's been 10 years this has been going, and there's an actual progress report on what's happening over there and the difference that it's making. So it's just very inspiring to know that your efforts are truly making a difference.
Yes. And how do people get a hold of you if they want to become involved?
We have a website, KelownaGrandmothersForAfrica.com.
We have a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that you're encouraging people to do 150 of something in for the 150th anniversary of Canada's birthday.
That's true. We're working, because we're having our run in June, that will be our first inspiration as to, we're still working on different ways, whether it's 150 steps times as far as people want to walk or something. We're also having a gathering of grandmothers in September. Kelowna is hosting for the BC Interior, and we will have the 150 for 150 theme at that event as well.
Oh, wonderful. And how many people are you expecting to host?
Well, it'll 50 to 100, I
Okay.
guess, at that. So it's the interior of BC, so there's the regions, the coastal region, the lower mainland, and then all the rest of BC. So
Yes.
that's who we're hosting. We're looking
Wonderful.
forward to that. That should be great.
That's great. That
Yeah.
sounds like you've got some things to look forward to this year.
Always something going on. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
great. Well, I want to thank you both very much for coming in and sharing both your personal stories, but also the work that you're doing here in Kelowna for grandmothers in Africa. We know that that's a very good project. Thank you so much.
Thank you.